Liverpool 2, Burnley nil. Janusz Michallik, how good were Liverpool today?
They were not great, but they were good enough, right? I mean, 2 games, 2 wins. It's early in the season, not the normal flow, but you wouldn't expect that this early. So I think Burnley were more adventurous than I thought, which allowed Liverpool to play the way they liked. However, Liverpool didn't do that early in the first half, and even early in the second half. They got going in the last 25 minutes mark. So I suppose given what Burnley did last season at Anfield, stopping that unbeaten streak and really starting a 6-game losing streak for Liverpool, which was massive, of course, in terms of their chances, if they had any. So look, I think it wasn't a perfect performance, didn't need to be. 2 games, 2 wins, and now a real big test next weekend against Chelsea.
Yeah, we'll get to that shortly. I want to talk about a couple of individuals. Harvey Elliott in the middle of the park looked like he'd been playing in the Premier League for years.
He was really, really good for an 18-year-old, that's for sure. I think he had a pretty good understanding with Mo Salah on that right-hand side. Let's not forget, of course, for Harvey Elliott, he's playing deeper than he normally plays in the midfield, right? He usually, or he would like to play probably in the front three. But you take what you get when you're an 18-year-old, of course, and with the front three or four, because, of course, Bobby Firmino came in the second half. I suppose for Harvey Elliott, he's going to have to learn to play in that midfield, and I thought he looked the part.
Trent Alexander-Arnold was outstanding going forward. It seems like it was only a couple of months ago that he was not included initially in one of the England squads by Gareth Southgate. I think that was back in March. But he's come back from injury and he started this season well. Do you have a concern, though, about the defence of Liverpool and the way that they play, and that their fullbacks bomb forward so much and are great and a super addition to the attack, but the opposition are starting to work out how they can get space in behind?
I have really zero concerns. I really do, because Virgil van Dijk is back, right? And it doesn't look perfect just yet. He needs time. But we did see a trademark Van Dijk diagonal ball for that second ball, something that was missing. And the reason I have zero concern is that last year, in the absence of Van Dijk, Trent and Andy Robertson didn't look great, right? Because they didn't feel they have that protection in the back. If you notice, they went forward a little bit less, or maybe they weren't as good in terms of doing that. And I can understand that as a former fullback, right? Because when you have Van Dijk or Joe Gomez or Matip, when they're all healthy, right, which they weren't, sometimes you don't go forward because you think to yourself, well, can I go forward as freely as I normally do without those players? So yes, today against Burnley, they had some issues, and even against Norwich. But as I've said, I think in time, Mark, when you get these games, I think everything will be okay.
And Janusz, let's go to the other end of the field, and Diogo Jota on target again. Now, Bobby Firmino's going to start games this season. He's too good not to. But with Jota in this form and the way that he's playing, is that the first choice front three with Salah and Mane to either side of him, and Firmino perhaps having to be patient now?
Yeah, he's going to have to be. Jota with 2 goals right now. I mean, he's been scoring last season as well. One of those players that he seemed to be scoring every time he plays, just about, right? So I think Bobby Firmino had an off season last year. He's going to have to prove once again that he belongs. But again, we've seen this with all the competitions that we have. I think there's going to be a rotation anyway. And, time will tell. And I think we're going to get a good indication against Chelsea next weekend, what the pecking order is, at least early on in the season. And of course, I'd be very surprised if Diogo Jota wasn't in the starting 11, because he's earned it.
That's a great matchup next week. Liverpool against Chelsea at Anfield. Chelsea are going to pose more of a threat going forward, but Liverpool have got that attacking threat. Does that suggest goals at either end?
Well, we'll see. I mean, for Chelsea, they have a test of their own this weekend, right? They face Arsenal as well. We'll see who's closer to being ready as well. I think matches like this, you got to kind of overlook what happened before that as well. So there's going to be a threat. I think you're going to see a different Liverpool already, because look, there's a massive confidence to open the season with 2 wins. It doesn't matter if it's just Norwich and Burnley, right? Because there's going to be teams this season that are going to lose surprisingly to Burnley and Norwich, and you always take 2 wins to start the season. So I think it's going to be a massive game, of course, and it's going to be super interesting to see where Liverpool stand.
They're going to be title challengers, though, aren't they?
I think so. I think that they will have a say, although this season is going to be a little bit more difficult. We see Manchester United, obviously with their performance against Leeds United, Chelsea, Manchester City, obviously haven't played to their best just yet. So it's early going, but you know what? As it stands right now, Liverpool are top of the table with 6 points. You take that.
Final question. I know that the pair of us are pretty much football traditionalists. When the team news came out and Burnley's jerseys were 1-11, we were happy.
Yes, I mean, it's unusual these days, of course, and we all understand why. So, yeah, I didn't even notice that until you told me.
First time, I think, since the mid 2000s that's happened in the Premier League, and long may it continue. Although, with Alexander-Arnold at 66 and various other numbers, it's more like a bingo or a lottery match every weekend. Liverpool 2, Burnley 0, a comfortable win for the Reds in front of a full house. So good to see at Anfield.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.